Happy Halloween! So my idea for my first Halloween special video ever on this channel is to recommend and discuss 3 great Halloween-esque movies. That was a quick intro, let's do this! Now the first movie that I want to talk about is The Conversation. This movie's about a bugger, like someone who is paid to bug and listen in on other people, is hired to conduct surveillance on a couple, but the bugger, who by the way is named Harry Call, very interesting name, starts to become overwhelmed with guilt because he also finds out, while surveilling the couple, that something very, very bad just might happen to them. He's then reminded of a previous case that he worked on, where things didn't end so well for the people that he was spying on. And now, we have a movie. The Conversation is so far from the modern slasher or poltergeist horror that we're so used to seeing in theaters today. If I were to classify this movie into a genre, I'd call it a dramatic thriller. But I'm recommending The Conversation because it still evokes a terror that is greater and more profound than the scares that we get from the popcorn horrors that we normally watch. And it is a form of terror that you will recognize and empathize with once you actually watch the movie. So disregarding the compelling drama of the writing, I think The Conversation works so well mainly for one technical reason: how it sounds. I mean, a movie about audio surveillance and bugging better sound great, right? And this movie sounds great. There's a palpable atmosphere to the soundscape that's pretty hard to achieve. For example, just close your eyes and listen to this clip that I'm about to show you.
Some nice Christmas cookies there I made. You want one?
Oh,
They're good.
no thanks.
We can hear the performers reciting their lines perfectly, but there's a quiet but obvious city buzz beneath the dialogue that adds a sense of realism and, again, atmosphere to this movie. I also want to compliment the choice to make this movie very quiet, and by that I mean there aren't like a million noises on screen crowding each other out. Instead, we get scenes like this. Where the silence and the faint noises of the movie drag us into this world that feels so grounded and real. For much of the runtime, there's no music or obvious sound effects to sugarcoat the drama or the suspense. The quietness sells the tension. But when music does play, it's phenomenal. Besides the fact that the music is simply well composed and interesting, the score is also used in the right moments of the film, mainly the moments where the viewer is sort of left to ponder. Now, I will say that if you're looking to get scared like the way you might get scared with The Conjuring, this movie isn't for you. But if you're interested in a compelling, emotional thriller that knows how to provoke discomfort and even anxiety, then I'm pretty damn sure you're going to enjoy this film. If you're interested, The Conversation is streaming on HBO Max. I watched it months ago on Amazon Prime, and I gave this movie 4 stars, and I'm pretty happy with that score, so yeah. On to the next movie. Now the second movie that I want to talk about is Don't Look Now. Let me start off by saying, do not watch this movie with your parents or your little brothers or sisters or maybe even your friends. There's quite a bit of graphic nudity in this movie, so this is your warning. This movie is about a married couple, John and Laura Baxter, who lose their daughter in a terrible incident, and so John and Laura, both still grieving, travel to Venice, where the husband has also accepted a commission to design a chapel. And then shit goes off the fucking rails, and now we have a movie. Don't Look Now is pretty well praised among critics, and the main reason for that is the film's video editing. One thing Don't Look Now does very differently from most other movies is the way it places 2 seemingly disconnected frames next to each other to create a sort of association between those 2 unrelated images. From an emotional standpoint, I also think the editing in this movie is especially worked in the 70s because it broke so many conventional editing rules. One memorable example I have is when John and Laura are talking to each other on the phone. The camera is showing different cuts between the 2 as they're speaking to each other, and then the camera suddenly cuts to a close-up of Laura's chin. Like, what? You see, when a movie is edited like this, where you can't seem to come up with an obvious reason why it's edited like this, you as the viewer will naturally feel uncomfortable and put your guard up and pay a lot more attention to what the film's trying to show you. I'll also mention that there are some edits in this movie that are just so out there, and so interesting and so weird. However, I wouldn't say Don't Look Now holds up perfectly well, mainly because the performances by the 2 leads can be very inconsistent to the point where it's almost jarring and irritating. But I still had a pretty cool time watching this movie, and I would still recommend it to anyone who's interested in seeing a thriller that's very different and unique and groundbreaking. This movie is streaming on Amazon Prime as well as the Criterion Channel. I watched it last week on Amazon Prime, and I gave the movie 3.5 stars, and I'm pretty happy with that score. So yeah, on to the final movie. And the last movie I want to talk about is Black Christmas. Okay, so this is what Black Christmas is about. You ready for this? Someone is killing the girls living in a sorority house during Christmas time. And now, we have a movie. Yo, finally, right? Finally, I talk about a movie that many people will like. Because this is a 70s era slasher, and who doesn't love 70s era slashers? And on top of that, I think Black Christmas is a very outstanding film. Again, it's the film editing. Because Black Christmas is so good at cutting and compiling different clips together. There's a scene in the movie involving Christmas carolers that quite a few people talk about, but a scene that I can't seem to forget has nothing to do with the actual killing that takes place in the movie. My favorite well-edited scene is actually a piano recital scene in the movie, mainly because the anxiety in the guy playing the piano is captured so well through the quick cuts and the decisive camera angles. Black Christmas is very self-aware of what it's trying to be. That's why there are so many obnoxiously hilarious scenes in the movie. Man, the killer in this movie is hysterical, and I don't know if it was intentional, but Jesus, the killer is so unhinged. It's hilarious. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this movie. It's a great time. You have to watch it as soon as you can get your hands on it. I watched Black Christmas on the Criterion Channel last week, and I decided to give it 3.5 stars. I might end up giving it 4 stars in the future, but we'll see. And yeah, that's the end of my 2020 Halloween special. I really hope that you guys see these movies and recognize some of the things that I talked about that make these movies so effective at conveying and provoking emotion. But no matter what you decide to do for this year's Halloween, I hope you all stay safe, and more importantly, have fun while doing so. I will see you guys very soon, and obla di obla da.